All right. So my name's Daniel Copelin, but I go by Dan. And I was born here in Tallahassee. I'm 46 years old. I've lived here my whole entire life. My family grew up with ties in Tallahassee. My great-grandfather was L.D. Fain and owned Fain Drugstore downtown.
Oh, okay.
So there's some old-time Tallahassee history on my mother's side. My dad was a transplant up here to Tallahassee from Miami area, but my mother has family and is from here. So it's neat to have so many generations that go back in Tallahassee and have those long, deep roots to the area. I am married. We have 4 children. My wife was my best friend's little sister. We got married about 17 years ago now. And our children, we have 2 boys and 2 girls. The girls are the oldest and the youngest. They range in age from 17 to 11. And we bought our first home in Tallahassee. My wife grew up in a neighborhood and in town, and so she appreciated that more than I did.
Right.
It was the closest I'd ever lived to neighbors. And the first time I'd ever lived next to people that weren't blood related to me. So that was a challenge to me. We began looking for somewhere else to move to. She did not want to move this far out of town to Miccosukee, but I appreciated and wanted to come out here for that. I work at the Tallahassee Police Department. I've been there 18 years now, and I worked at the Leon County Sheriff's Office before that. I really like being a part of the community and trying to help others that way. So that's some about me.
Is there anything else you like about Miccosukee itself?
It'd be easier for me to tell you what I don't like about Miccosukee.
Well, that was going to be
that's a much shorter list.
Yes. Okay. I like that.
I like living in the Miccosukee community because there's, in addition to being out in the country, I like that there's no traffic. I like that we're out here and it's quiet. I appreciate the fact that I can get in my car and drive into work in the morning, or I can go somewhere in the afternoon, and sometimes I drive a couple of miles away from my home and I only pass 1 or 2 cars the entire time. I like that.
Yes.
I like that the people that live in the Miccosukee community look out for each other.
Yes.
There's a sense of wanting to take care of each other, even if you don't know that person. Because they're out here in the area of Miccosukee, you could come across somebody who was having car trouble or was walking on the side of the road, or you just recognize was in some type of distress. And just because they're in the Miccosukee area, our small community, somebody who lives here would stop and check on them. They don't have to be a person that lives here and somebody that they would even recognize, but we still have that
small community feel
of taking care of each other.
Yes, yes. You said the list of dislikes was short. What are some of the dislikes?
There's some lack of resources at times out here in the Miccosukee community. And what I mean by that is that sometimes the government resources that fund some of the infrastructure, and then even private companies that take care of their infrastructure of utilities or water or telephone or internet, those types of things seem to fall on the lower priority than in town where there's a denser population. Whenever they're going to have more of private business, or the government for that matter, whenever they can allot those resources financially that they have to be able to help more people, that seems to be where they go more. And sometimes I think Miccosukee
we kind of get cut out of that a little bit.
At least lower on the priority list.
Lower on the priority.
And then, there's part of me that would like to see more of a retail opportunity out here, so we didn't have to drive so far into town for certain things. But I appreciate that we are in a country rural type of setting where we really only have the Cow Mart that's available to us, and that it closes at 8 o'clock at night. It has helped me and my family whenever we need to do something in town, to make sure we've done everything we need to do in town before we come home.
That's right.
Whenever we lived in town before, we could run an errand and come back and realize we'd forgotten something and just go do the next thing, leaving the house again because it was only a 5-minute drive away. Well, we don't do that anymore.
Not when it's a 20-mile drive, right?
No, we schedule our grocery shopping and all of our errands that we need to do in town and things like that. We're much more organized because we don't want to have to turn around and drive back into town.
What's your vision of Miccosukee?
I go against the grain here from a lot of people because I don't want to see Miccosukee change. I appreciate the qualities of Miccosukee the way that they are.
The quietness and things.
I like and appreciate that. And so I probably resist more than other people big changes or growth. Despite the fact that a moment ago I said I'd like to see more retail here, I just don't want to see too much.
Yeah.
So my preference is that there would be some controlled planning on whatever that growth would be, where it would be consistent with the history, consistent with the neighbors, consistent with the way that everybody who has been here for some time, the way they view their community. I wouldn't want to see a fancy brand new box store type of company come in and put a brand new building up that didn't match the way that the rest of the community looks and feels. I would appreciate more if there were some consideration to blending into the way that the community looks.
Right. How much of the history how much of Miccosukee's history do you know, if any?
Well, I'm learning more being part of the working group for sure. But the longer that I associate with people that have the long-standing ties to the community, the more I come to appreciate where I do live in my community.
Right.
Because this has become our home now. We've lived here for 11 years. I don't want to move away from here. You would have to pry me away from living in Miccosukee.
I like
because one of the good advantages of that is people think we live so far out. I don't get very many unwelcomed visitors, and not so many people dropping in, just knocking on the door.
Right.
But I think the history of Miccosukee is rich and very valued to me. I wish there were more of a way for us to be able to make others aware of how important Miccosukee is and was to the development of this area and how influential it's been to Tallahassee. The plantations, the families, the farming that has occurred out here has supported Tallahassee. And I think that we could go a long way in helping people recognize that and pointing that out.
So I think some of the things that we have talked loosely about in the committee meetings is finding some kind of mechanism to get people to come out. Maybe we'll have a festival, maybe we'll have some kind of fair or something that people would just come and we can get to know. Maybe we need to have a get to know your neighbor day or something like that.
I agree with that.
So that people can come out and know the richness of the community that they're living in. Well, we are definitely richer because of you.
Well,
and
I can and will say the same about you, Leonard.
Well, I'm an old diehard, but
I hope you do too.
I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for being a part of this.
Thank you, my friend.
And thanks for even being a part of Miccosukee.
Yep.